Can I interest you in another helping of Matt Boldy goals? Well, Detroit may have had their fill. We recap a full weekend of second line magic today on Locked On Wild.
You're Locked On Wild, your daily podcast on the Minnesota Wild, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another episode of Locked On Wild, your daily Minnesota Wild podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen every day. And just as a reminder, Locked On Wild is free and available wherever you listen to podcasts. On today's episode, Alex Micheletti joins the show as we recap two big wins for the Wild over the Hurricanes and the Detroit Red Wings. We'll also talk about Matt Boldy's potential to win the Calder Trophy this season. And we will look at some of the recent developments on the trade market for the Minnesota Wild, as well as some other NHL news that made the rounds over the weekend as well. So a packed show for you here today. And today's show is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. You can get in on all the action at BetOnline, where the game starts. My name is Seth Topal, host of Locked On Wild, your veteran captain of the show with well over a decade's worth of experience covering your favorite Minnesota sports teams, and joined by my usual Monday guest, Alex Micheletti. Hashtag Micheletti Monday, hashtag Victory Micheletti Monday. The Super Bowl is in the rearview mirror, Alex, and now all eyes turn to the hockey world. How's it going, man?
Good. It's a fun past couple of games for the Wild, and especially beating the Hurricanes, one of the best teams in the league, and they just continue to roll and beat everybody. So it's fun, exciting times in St. Paul, and we'll see have the boys keep rolling.
I want to ask you. So you had the win against the Hurricanes over the weekend, 3-2. Had the 7-4 win over the Red Wings last night. Which one was more impressive? Was it the fact that the Wilds were able to, as they've done all season, get up and play and get an early lead in a big game and hold it? Or was it avoiding the trap game and being able to shake off the slow start and just bury the Detroit Red Wings? Which one was your favorite? Which one stood out more?
Avoiding the trap game for sure, because it always seems to happen. No matter the sport, you take a look. You win a huge, gigantic game, and then the next game you just fall flat on your feet. And so that was impressive for the Wild to hang on, and they kind of got a taste of their own medicine there late with the Red Wings pulling the goalie and pulling it way early, and so. It was really nice to see them, just stomp on the throats of Detroit there late, and Ryan Hartman getting the goal because he hadn't been scoring a whole lot, so it was nice to see him score, and and the depth of this team, just scoring on all lines. Seeing the guy like Freddie Gaudreau, 7 points in the last 7 games, so what more can you say about that? And Matt Boldy, the Matt Boldy game.
It was quite a weekend for that second line. They had 11 points in the 2 games, had a 4-point night combined with Fiala and Gaudreau goals against the Hurricanes.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get second line magic plus a dose of Kirill Kaprizov. Last night against the Red Wings, you get 7 points combined from that line, including the Boldy hat trick. You also get a dose of Kirill Kaprizov with the 2 goals. And this was a fascinating mention by the broadcast team, and that Joel Eriksson Ek now has 9 power play goals this season. And I think they said it was last year. He had 3 points on the power play the entire season. And now has just become like this just power play menace. And then you get the Ryan Hartman goal. So, a very repeatable formula that we've seen over the last 2 weeks, in that that second line just dominates, and then you get a sprinkling of other guys to seal the win.
Yeah, we've talked about it, how important it is to have that second scoring line. And, with the call up of Matt Boldy, I mean, he's just completely transformed Kevin Fiala's game, and is going to really help Kevin Fiala earn a lot of money this summer. So, Freddie Gaudreau has really stepped up his play. He gets a lot of critical, comments his way and towards his play, but he's really played well offensively, and what you get from him defensively. So, if he just plays, mistake-free hockey, that line can really do wonders, and they're on fire. And so, come playoff time, that's going to be important to have those guys be on top of their game, because everybody's going to try to shut down Kirill. So, you love to see a second scoring line rolling too.
And everybody having everybody's back. Now, the hit that led to just the absolute chaos by Brandon Duhaime is one that you see it happen, and you're like, let's not do that. But Detroit obviously took exception, and Duhaime was ready to just fight everybody. He's like, I'll take on the whole team by myself. I don't care. But here comes Jordan Greenway with Marcus Foligno serving the final game of his suspension. Jordan Greenway gets involved in the fray to try to help restore order. And, it's just, we think about all the scoring for this team and how much of a factor that plays. But you also have to have those guys that are willing to just scrum it up with everybody out there on the ice. And you got Foligno, you've got Duhaime, you got Jordan Greenway that can definitely throw down with the best of them too.
Yeah, I mean, some of these teams in this conference especially don't really have any tough guys. You look at the Chicago Blackhawks; they don't really have anybody to answer the bell anymore. And so, I tweeted it out earlier in the game last night. It doesn't go unnoticed by teammates when Jordan Greenway is stepping up, not only with Brandon Duhaime, but also when Jonas Brodin got whacked. And so, it's really great to see with Greenway, and he's really earning his money right now, and has played his best hockey in the past month and a half. So it's fun.
I'm glad you brought up Brodin, because some of those penalty kill minutes late in the game, and just late in the game in general, guy's a freak.
Yeah, he was phenomenal.
Just consistent pursuit with whoever it was that was handling the puck for the Red Wings. And we did the episode, Alexis and I did, about some of the unsung heroes of this team in terms of an offensive standpoint. Brodin and Spurgeon, I don't think they will ever get enough praise for what they do out on the ice, and it was on full display for Jonas Brodin there in the third period.
Yeah, they can do it all, and they just do it. It seems like it's effortless, especially for Jonas Brodin. No matter, he's usually playing with Matt Dumba, and Matt Dumba's out. So, I mean, it doesn't matter who he's playing with. He just always seems to be in the right spot. And, when you have the goalie pulled there and it's just frantic, and I mean, he was out there for a lot of the time, and they score after he gets off, so you can tell how important he was to that penalty kill. And so, they're gonna really need him. They're going the rest of the way, and especially right now with Matt Dumba being out a couple of weeks, it's been reported. Jordy Ben had a really tough game tonight. And so, it puts a lot of pressure on Jonas Brodin and Jared Spurgeon. And Spurgeon was great. He had, 2 assists tonight and played well defensively as well. So those two were just rock stars on the back end.
Final piece on the weekend before we move to Matt Boldy specifically. The goaltending again, Capo did give up the 4 goals, but extra attacker at the end is dicey. I think Brett Marshall tweeted it out. It was the 3rd time that he has given up more than 3 goals in a game this season out of however many starts he's had. So obviously doing a really good job, and it continues, that tandem. Talbot started against the Hurricanes and was great. And Capo, had a ton of good moments after Detroit got off to the 2-0 lead to help the Wilds get back in. So goalie tandem continues to be an elite, good, great, whatever word you want to use. They continue to get the job done.
Yeah, this was an important game too. It shows the confidence that Dean has in Capo to not pull him after 2 early goals. And I tweeted it out early in the game too. I was like, it was fire wagon hockey early, but not to worry, because Detroit, as they showed, gives up a ton of chances. And so Capo stayed the course and kept the team in it, and let the offense go to work, and to score 7 at home, just phenomenal.
Yeah, that is the I think Russo said the 5th time the Wild have scored 7+ goals in a game at home this season, which is far and away the tops in the NHL. So offense is good.
They'll take it for sure.
Yeah, offense is good. Depth is better.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try to get away from using that joke, but at this point I really can't. So a great weekend for the Wilds. And, I think if we learned anything from the game against the Red Wings, it's that not only do the Wild have a great second-year player in Kirill Kaprizov, they have another good rookie who may have put himself more into the conversation for best rookie in the NHL. We'll talk about Matt Boldy and where he should be amongst the Calder Trophy candidates next here on Locked On Wild. It is the month of February, and your New Year's resolutions may be out the window. But if you're still trying to look better and eat better, Built Bar is here to help. And if you're looking for a little bit of a different variety of Built Bar, try out their Puffs. They are one of the best tasting bars available. Puffs are the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy. They're not just a protein bar, they're a treat and covered in 100% real chocolate. Most Built Bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and right around 17 grams of protein. Compare that to your favorite candy bar with 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. It will have you switching to Built Bar as quickly as you can get your hands on them. And you can get your hands on a 15% off of your order bonus when you head to Built.com and use the promo code LOCKED15. Again, use the promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. Continuing today's episode of Locked On Wild. And again, thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen every day. Once you're done with Locked On Wild, make sure to check out Olympic Hockey Daily, presented by Locked On NHL. It's a bonus podcast covering all the action in Beijing. You can find it on the Locked On NHL podcast feed. Olympic Hockey Daily is free and available wherever you listen to podcasts. We talked about Matt Boldy before the break with the hat trick, the 4-point game, insanity mode, just fully engaged once again. And Alex, if I may, I have the stats of the other rookies in the NHL at this point. Matt Boldy is already tied for 13th in the NHL with 7 goals. He's played 13 games. The leader, Michael Bunting of Toronto, has 14 goals in 45 games. So he's already shooting up the leaderboard. Trevor Zegras with 12 goals in 43 games. So Boldy has 5 fewer goals in 30 fewer games. In terms of total points, obviously Boldy a little bit behind Lucas Raymond, but he is currently, I just saw him, where did he go? He is, now I can't find it again. There he is, 17th with 14 points. The numbers are moving all over the screen. He is 17th in the NHL in points as a rookie. Brandon Duhaime, by the way, 19th, which I did not expect, so that kind of threw me off. But obviously, some of those top names, your Lucas Raymond, Trevor Zegras, going to get a majority of the love. Moritz Seider as well,
He's a
for
heck of a player.
for the Calder Trophy. But Matt Boldy, imagine where Matt Boldy would be first off if he wouldn't have been injured to start the season, because it was pretty much a guarantee that he was going to be with the team to start the year.
Right.
Even healthy, but even still,
you can't control when he's going to get called up either. So
he is lighting it up, and I who's to say with the final portion of the schedule remaining, who's to say he couldn't get to 20 goals as a rookie despite only having 13 games under his belt as of right now, because there is no slowing down showing in his game whatsoever.
No, and him being on the top power play is huge for him, and getting a chance to to play with Zuccarello and Kaprizov on the power play. They can set him up, and he showed it tonight, and his chemistry with Fiala and Gaudreau is just phenomenal right now, and so. Yeah, there's going to be plenty of opportunities for him to get multi-point games to start racking up points and getting closer to those rest of those talented young guys.
It's no coincidence either that the Wild's power play has started to really pick up their performance since Boldy became a part of that unit, because we saw it on display tonight. Like, as Zuccarello said in the first intermission interview with Kevin Gorg, the guy just has a vision for the puck that you really don't see that often in guys. And, whether it be scanning towards the net or back up to the top of the zone, just makes some plays that we really don't see outside of Kirill Kaprizov. And maybe he's not quite at the Kaprizov level in terms of that puck vision, but he's already near the top of the team in that category. He just is able to anticipate where people are going to be like nobody else.
Yeah, and he can stick up for himself. He plays so well defensively too, and he's just great vision. And he's done wonders for Fiala, and getting him set up for some great scoring chances. It's crazy to think about that. If the Wild don't have that, wake up call against the Blues in the Winter Classic, we might not even see Boldy until even later in the season. And so, sometimes a bad loss like that can really, make the GM, ponder a move. And great move by Billy G once again by calling up Boldy, and he's been an absolute difference maker.
Yeah, he's been pretty good, as Larry David would say. He's been
pretty
good. The other thing too, we're just going to continue to just give some love. It's the day after Valentine's Day now, technically still Valentine's Day when we're recording this, but giving some love to Matt Boldy, because that move on his first goal where he right in front of the net, he started one way and he basically slammed on the brakes and turned the other way and went top shelf. Like, again, put that up there with any veteran hockey player's move, and that still would be super impressive. Like, he plays beyond his years, and it's no surprise that the Wild thought highly of him when they drafted him, because he's got everything you look for in a great player in this league.
Yeah, I mean, he made a veteran defenseman in Mark Stahl look foolish, who's been in the league for a long time. Even though he's not very good anymore, but still he's been in the league for forever. And what a pass by Kevin Fiala too. And so, was just insane. It got the building rocking, and the boys were trying to feed him for that hat trick the rest of the way after his second one. So. 4-point night is his coming out party, and 14 points in 13 games is when you're on a point per game basis, it's impressive.
Yeah, it's magical. Now, every game that the Wild play that line continues to play the way it is makes more of a compelling argument to just ride with it, just roll with it, let the thing play out, let these lines continue to just dominate, because even on nights like the game against the Jets, where they end up getting shut out, a rare occasion, that starts to look more and more like an anomaly, because even in that game, they still had a ton of chances from the Kaprizov line and others. I mean, it's even me, who was so vocally for making a trade, is still for making a trade. It's making it really, really hard to keep that opinion. Just every game that this team continues to crush.
Yeah, things have changed a little bit here with Vegas. I'm sure we'll get into that. But with Eichel being able to play starting Wednesday against Colorado, and Colorado being very interested in Claude Giroux, so it might be one of those things where they're kind of forced to make a deal to keep up in the West arms race, you can call it. So. It's going to be a really tough decision, but this seems like out of any year to make a run for it, because it seems to be just wide open.
Yeah, that's a great point. And we will talk about some of the moves. There was a big trade yesterday that happened with the Calgary Flames.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Eichel and circumventing the cap. All of that to finish off today's episode of Locked On Wild. After this, football may be over for the season, but basketball is in full steam for both pro and college hoops. From all of the latest odds, totals, player performance props, to where the next fired coach is going to land, BetOnline.net is the #1 spot for all of your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, and UFC odds, right to Olympic coverage and information. So head to their website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and the action. You can find all of it at BetOnline.net, where the game starts. Final segment of today's episode of Locked On Wild. And again, thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen every day. Seth Topol hanging out with Alex Micheletti for a Victory Micheletti Tuesday. I think I said Monday the first time, but it's okay. A lot going on over the weekend in the NHL, and a lot of it pertains to the Minnesota Wild. So we'll start with the Vegas Golden Lightning. Vegas Golden Knights, who activating Jack Eichel. What are they going to do to get under the salary cap? Oh, yeah, we'll just put Mark Stone on long-term injured reserve and magically make that all disappear. I mean, I get that it's there, and there are a lot of people that are saying, for instance, if the Wild had a situation like that, they would have used it, or they would use it. I get that. I get that it's there for all teams to use. It doesn't mean that I can't just hate it every time it is.
Yeah, it should have been addressed after Tampa. I mean, not only did they win the cup, but Kucherov was the leading point scorer in the playoffs. So that tells you all you need. It should have been addressed, and now they're letting a team in the West do it. If Vegas wins the cup, the critics will be very critical of Gary Bettman. It needs to be addressed in this upcoming off season, because they shouldn't just be able to pick up an all-star. They traded for an all-star, but they shouldn't be able to just put one all-star on a quote unquote a couple month break and then be able to just get him right back for the playoffs, and then have both Eichel and Stone. So it makes Vegas into pretty much an all-star team. So it's just wild.
It's madness, but nothing we can do about it. The Calgary Flames acquired Tyler Toffoli to bolster their playoff chances, but as things sit at the moment, the Flames are in the second spot in the Pacific Division. They would be the second wild card if they were to go in the Central standings. So they'd be fighting for their playoff lives, if not for the fact that they were in the Pacific Division. Is that going to be enough to jolt the Flames and try to get them kind of back on track? Although, as I look at the standings, they are playing much better. 8-2 in their last 10. They've won 6 in a row. Is that enough of a move to put the Flames back in contender conversation in the Western Conference?
I think that was such a brilliant move by Calgary. You pick up a guy in Tyler Toffoli that has played under Daryl Sutter in LA and really thrived in that type of system. And, he brought that to Calgary. And so they were in desperate need of a top 6 winger. And now they have him on a second line with Backlund and Blake Coleman. And so that really helps them get a second scoring line because they have a loaded up top line of Lindholm, Gaudreau, and Tkachuk. And so, I think Toffoli is going to really help them. He's brilliant on the power play. And so, yeah, couldn't ask for a better trade for them. And I made the joke early yesterday morning. Calgary gave up Tyler Pitlick. And so Montreal now has all the Pitlicks. They have Rem and Tyler. And Rem's brother Rhett is at the University of Minnesota, who was a Montreal Canadian draft pick. So they have 2 brothers in Rhett and Rem, and then their cousin Tyler on the Canadians. So it would definitely be interesting to see, if Rhett can make it, to have all 3 be out there would be pretty cool and just hilarious.
Collecting Pitlicks like Infinity Stones. That's what I was doing with the Thanos gauntlet, putting the Infinity Stone into place. It's just another.
There's your screenshot for the night.
There we go.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to watch. And on the trade topic as well, Adrian Dater, huge fan.
Cool guy.
Well, yeah, for the Avalanche, you may recognize him from making Nathan McKinnon question what was going on at an Avalanche press conference. But anyway, point being, he mentioned that it seems as though Claude Giroux has made his intentions clear that his first choice is to go to the Colorado Avalanche if it works. If not, he puts the Minnesota Wild as an acceptable alternative for potential trades, and also the St. Louis Blues, because why not? I mean, it's obvious that Colorado should be the top choice because they're the best team in the NHL right now. But
yes.
Are we? I'm a little riled up about it. Like, do we want to be the second choice? Drew, is this an angle that the Wild should still seriously pursue? Because, and of course, I'm being kind of facetious there, but Avalanche don't have enough to even make a deal happen, do they?
No, I'm trying to figure out how they're going to make it work in their cap. It's going to take some gymnastics for them to get that figured out. I'm sure Philly wants a guy like Bo Byram or a Girard. They're going to want a defenseman back probably just because they're so bad defensively. So be interesting. I would think Girard would be the one to have to go, or an Eric Johnson, somebody with a big cap hit on that team. Be really interesting. We've talked on other forms of media, Seth, about would Chuck Fletcher even want to trade with the Wild? After being let go by the Wild, and all the connections that Philadelphia has in that organization now with the Wild. And so that would be interesting to see if he'd be willing to do that or not. A guy that I've been clamoring for would be Joe Pavelski in Dallas. If Dallas starts to get out of the playoff race, I just think he's a better player than Claude Giroux. He might be a little 3 years older, but this is the time to try to win a Stanley Cup and bring it to a franchise that has no Stanley Cups. And just imagine a Stanley Cup in St. Paul. Our state would just go completely bonkers. It would be so nice for all the bars and restaurants. Tom Reed deserves it. And so, yeah, it'd be fantastic.
Yeah, there's no shortage of people that deserve to see a Stanley Cup. And, Lou Nanny at the top of that list, just
Yes.
narrating that Winter Classic promo video that was just goosebumps. So
Yes.
let's get one here. Finally, just to finish, just a parting shot. The Arizona Coyotes set to proceed in a college rink that will have a max capacity of 5,000 people. Oh boy. Will they fill it?
I don't know. I don't know who has a tougher job, the Chicago Blackhawks social media crew or the Arizona Coyotes crew, to just try to say this is just a fantastic, idea and move. It's not a long-term option. The fact that they said 3 years is okay is something else. I don't even think with when it's ready to go that 5,000 will be even available seating capacity for the NHL, and they better hope that they can sell alcohol at the games. You never know, because it's on the college campus there. It'll be fun for the students if they're able to afford the tickets. That could be an issue too, because they might have to jack up the prices if there's only that amount available. The picture of that when they were showing it around, it looks like a high school rink. And so, I was getting tweets all day of saying, "Hey, my rink is bigger than that." The San Jose Sharks AHL team, their account said, "I think our new rink is bigger than that." So that was a savage move. I can't believe an actual team account chirped the Coyotes account, and so it's a really tough scene. They need to get a rink built. They have to get their own. It needs to be 18,000 like the rest of the league. It just makes the league look bad. You got players paying escrow to the league, and I'm sure they're going to be upset about that. You want to try to get as much revenue as possible, and it doesn't seem like a long-term viable way to go about business. And maybe paying your rent on time would be good too.
That might help. It's going to be so weird when they get complaints from the fans that they have to turn the public address speakers down because they're too loud. But
yeah, it's a tough scenes in Arizona.
Yeah, good luck with that. I can't wait for them to start doing like a sellout tracker. Or the first announced attendance being like 1,800 fans. Like, oh boy.
Yikes.
Yeah. We don't have to do this anymore. But I think that'll do it for today's episode of Locked On Wild. Hit you with a lot here, but we'll spread it out as the week goes on. Make sure now that your first listen of the day is done to check out the Locked On NHL podcast to get the full recap of everything going on in the NHL from your favorite Locked On hosts. Locked On NHL is available wherever you listen to podcasts. Just like Locked On Wild, search us everywhere on both podcast apps and social media, keeping you up to date as much as we can on what's going on with the Minnesota Wild. We've got a big surprise coming in the month of March, so stay tuned for that. All
going
of it,
to be fun.
Yes, all of it. Alex knows what's going on, so it's going to be a blast. So stay tuned for that, and just trying to keep you as up to date as we can on Minnesota Wild, everything, so that if a puck drops or news drops here in the state of hockey, Locked On Wild has you covered with new episodes every Monday through Friday as part of the Locked On Podcast Network.